Welcome back to your favorite kitchen in your favorite grocery store. I am Chef Brittany Hockey, Executive Chef for Spartan Nash, and I am here today with Mike. I am so excited to talk apples.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm Mike Hildebrand. We own and operate Hildebrand Fruit Farms. It's a family farm in Berrien Springs, Michigan. We're rolling up on 100 years. My grandparents bought the farm in 1927. So we raised about 250 acres of fruit, and we bought a packing shed 6 years ago. And so we pack and store apples all winter long into the spring. And so we just supply apple-y goodness all throughout the year to as many people as possible.
So you say farm, fruit farm. Is it still farm or just fruit farm? Or do you have
so it's a fruit farm. No.
Okay.
We have a dog.
Okay.
No animals. You can't go on vacation from animals. You got to feed the pigs
You're
and
right.
cows.
You are totally right.
And no veggies, no corn, beans, any of that stuff.
In the realm of fruit,
so we start with tart cherries.
Okay.
Around the 4th of July, and then we have peaches that we move into. We grow some nectarines. We grow pears. Mm-hmm. Lots of apples, about 15 different varieties of apples, and then we grow grapes for Welch's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you brought some apple cider. You brought me gifts.
You know, you never show up empty-handed when you're invited places.
I'm so excited.
That's actually the only reason we get invited places. Let's invite the Hildebrands. We could use some fruit.
Well, I guess I'll have to invite you around cherry season.
All right. 4th of July, fireworks at your place.
There we go. I'll count it.
Got it.
In the realm of just starting off with growing apple trees, I mean, how long does it take until you start actually getting apples?
So when you plant a new orchard, and everything is high density now, so we're planting trees like 2 feet apart between the trees. It's not like the old days, the angry orchard style trees where they're gigantic and hanging down. We're actually growing like telephone poles with trellises and little branches this long. It's very intensive, but usually by about the 3rd year, you're picking fruit. So it's a lot of work the first 2 years just to train the trees and kind of fill the space, but then they're efficient little trees after that.
It's a different tree per apple.
Each apple tree is grafted.
Okay.
So you're choosing a rootstock that determines how large the tree is going to be.
Okay.
And then the top of the graft is the variety. So you're choosing Fuji or Gala or Honeycrisp or whatever. And then there's different strains of these varieties. So there's 6 or 7 different types of Honeycrisp that you can choose, and multitudes of Galas and Fujis and things. I'll show you my nursery catalog, and your eyes will glaze over.
I can already tell I'm going to learn a lot today that I never even knew I could know about apples. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so your tree has apples. How do you pick them?
By hand.
Okay.
As carefully as possible. So we have a crew that we bring in every fall. Each apple is hand harvested as gently as possible. We can do everything right up until the moment of harvest, and a picker can bruise an apple just by picking it incorrectly or dropping it into the basket or dumping it too clumsily into the bin. I tell them during training every year, and probably multiple times throughout the year, is like, I did my job. You need to do yours, please.
Yeah.
Like this last 60 seconds is the most important.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. You can spend all season, growing, and then just that one thing.
Yeah. You can dodge frost, dodge hail, dodge all the other boogeymen that are out there. And your workers can be a problem.
Question that I get asked, and I'm going to ask a professional. When I bring apples home, is it better for me to store them at room temperature or in my refrigerator?
So it depends what you want them to do.
Okay.
So if you want to keep them a long time, put them in the refrigerator. Okay. Keep them cold, they'll last longer. If you want them to ripen up and maybe soften up or, maybe sweeten up, leave them out on the counter for a couple days, let them get to room temperature.
Okay. What would you say would be the best apple for, let's say, baking versus cooking?
There's a lot of bagged apples in the stores. So on our bags, we put a flavor meter, we call it. So it shows what you can use it for, baking or eating, whether it's sweet or tart, whether it's soft or hard. And so we have like a little scale on those bags. And I know other people that pack apples have that too. Mm-hmm. So that gives you some indication of what they're good for. Your standard eaters are Honeycrisp, Evercrisp, Fuji, Gala. You got some all-purpose apples like Golden Delicious, Jana Gold. You can cook with Fuji. You can cook with Cameo. But then you've got some that are more leaning towards just the baking side. So like a Macintosh, it's a softer apple. A Golden Delicious makes a good pie.
Yeah.
Actually, everything makes a good pie. Let's be honest. You add sugar
True,
to anything and it's
true.
going to taste pretty good.
So for me, everybody, like, I'm not a huge sweet eater. So I've really, I would say in the last couple of years, really ventured into cooking techniques with apples, but in a savory application. I do like sausage apple bites and I put cheddar in them and then mix it with like a box biscuit mix, which, you know, I'm not supposed to use biscuit mix because, you know, but I do. Shortcuts are like awesome. But you just roll them into like little balls and then bake them at like 400. They come out like crispy and the apple adds that little bit of sweetness with the sausage. And then we just dip ours in like honey mustard or something like that. It's really good.
Our local pizzeria in our little small town, Berrien Springs, they make a peach pizza during the month of August. And so, you know, it's some feta cheese and some ricotta and some balsamic, and I think there's some basil on there. It's like yum.
That sounds delicious.
I would
and
weigh
I mean,
400 pounds
pizza?
if it was always August.
Right. Well, I think nowadays too, they just put just about everything on pizza.
This is true, but
Yeah.
especially fruit.
Fruit.
Come on, let's make it healthy.
So what's your guys' go-tos at home with apples?
Apples and peanut butter. It's the simplest.
It is. That's so good.
So I'm partial to the Evercrisp apple. So that's a cross between a Fuji and Honeycrisp.
Okay.
It's fairly new, like in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
I believe that is the best peanut butter delivery device ever invented. It is so good.
Creamy or crunchy?
Creamy. I don't want to chew my peanut butter.
And I asked this before, and I'm an oddball, I guess. I'm always a crunchy peanut butter fan.
All right. We're done here.
No. We have more to talk about.
Okay.
No, yeah. So with all these varieties of apples, how does a new apple come to be?
Sometimes a tree will just mutate, or one branch on a tree will mutate. So you'll have a gala block of apples and one limb is just redder than the rest of the apples. And so farmers will flag that and be like, oh, well, this is better, and they'll watch it. The other way is through cross-pollination. So like an Evercrisp is a cross between Fuji and Honeycrisp. So there are groups that purposely cross-pollinate different varieties. And because Honeycrisp is the hot apple right now, everyone wants to cross a Honeycrisp with everything else and get the next big thing. It gets a little bit confusing for Jane Q. Public, though, at the grocery store. People will buy a new apple, they'll see it on the shelf, they'll like it, and then they won't remember the name. Because we're crossing everything with Honeycrisp, we're going to name every apple something crisp. So we got Honeycrisp and Evercrisp and Cosmic Crisp and Ludicrisp and Crispy Crisp. And I mean, it just becomes too much for people. People need to find their favorite, or maybe they need to stick with the old standbys, or write down what you like so that you don't forget it. Put a little note in your phone or something.
So at your farm, then you pick them. They're there. How long can they be stored? Or like, I mean, to have apples, because you said you have apples all season, do they have to be stored in like a special environment to last that long? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So here's the peek behind the curtain. Some apples can store up to a year in storage.
Really?
Yeah. We have controlled atmosphere storage on our farm. So we have airtight rooms that will fill with apples. They're refrigerated. We keep them at like 34 degrees. Pull the doors shut. Seal them up. They're completely airtight, and we turn really fancy, expensive machines on that pump nitrogen gas into the rooms that pushes all the oxygen out. We'll take the oxygen level down below 1%. We'll let the carbon dioxide level go up to about 1%. And if the apple can't breathe, it can't ripen.
Wow.
And so it's cold and oxygenless.
So they can be stored in there. So really then pull those out. They're still good to go. So if you have at your farm, like, what if you have like a bunch of apples that, like, can you feed them to animal? Like, what do you do if you have a bunch of excess apples then?
So we make cider.
Okay.
So, you know, inevitably there's going to be some bad apples, something with a mark. It's too small. It's too green, you know, whatever. And so we'll send those off to either an applesauce factory, an apple juice factory, or we make our own cider. And then sometimes we have extras as well. And we work with a place down in South Bend, Indiana called Cultivate Food Rescue.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So my friend Jim Conklin started that, and they serve food pantries. They also do like a backpacks program for kids on the weekends. And so we get fresh fruit into kids' bellies. That's usually not something that they get a hold of. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
You were telling me too about the apple cider that you did a blend.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So we had some softer peaches that we couldn't sell to the stores. So I was like, yeah, let's try making a peach blend with the cider. I will say that adding peach schnapps and peach vodka also brings out the peach flavor in the peach cider. I would highly recommend that for a Friday
If you're
evening.
21.
Yes. Follow the rules.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the farm. So you said, how many kids?
So we got 3.
Okay.
The oldest is 17. She'll be a senior. The middle one is 15. He'll be a sophomore. And then the youngest is 12.
Okay. So are they interested in the farm? Are they like, do they want to get into the family business?
That's the hope.
Okay.
So it's their choice. So 6 years ago, I said that we bought this packing shed from the neighbor who was retiring. Thanks, Dave. So the goal at that time was that if all 3 kids want in, it's got to be big enough for all of us.
Yeah.
All of them could do something very well in the business, but I'm not going to force it on them.
Yeah.
It wasn't forced on me. It's a family farm. We kind of view it as the family heirloom. And so right now we're the ones holding the baton with the race, but
and growing up in that atmosphere, I mean, I'm sure they've been involved in all of this and around. So, I mean,
our kids hated COVID because they enrolled in the Hildebrand Fruit Farms CTE program. And so it's like, oh, well, you're done with virtual school. Get on the packing line. Help sort apples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
No choice. But they like it a lot more when they get paid.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The check shows up and they're very interested then.
So you said you do have apples year-round, but what's like the main harvesting season?
I would say after Labor Day, people start shifting into apple mode. Before that, it's still summery and people are thinking about sweet corn and melons and peaches. But once Labor Day hits, kids start going back to school. The weather starts getting a little chillier. Then it's apple time until really Thanksgiving, I think. Even into Christmas a little bit, people bake and you get the family gatherings.
But definitely just in that, like it's fall time for sure.
And, it's fall time, so people are doing the U-picks and the hay rides.
Do you guys do that?
We do not.
No. Okay.
No. So I almost wore my T-shirt, like our Hildebrand Fruit Farms T-shirt today. And on the back, it says, no U-pick, no jams and jellies, no craft fare, just high-quality fruit at reasonable prices.
I mean, that's what you want, though, right?
So, some people want to ride a Ferris wheel and do the haunted house, and some people just want to come buy apples.
Yeah.
And that's our lane.
All right. What other goodies can you tell me about apples that I don't know?
So Honeycrisp apples are by far one of the most popular. A lot of people don't know exactly why Honeycrisp just erupted 20 years ago. So it was actually Oprah.
Really?
I give credit to Oprah. No one had really heard of Honeycrisp apples, and Oprah had her show, and she did her favorite things. And Honeycrisp apple was her produce of the year, apple of the year, whatever. Demand for Honeycrisp went through the roof, and we're right around the lake from Chicago.
Yeah.
Right? So it's an hour and a half to downtown. And all of a sudden it's just do you have Honeycrisp? Do you have Honeycrisp? I was I don't even know what this apple is. So we planted them, and now, it's the hottest seller.
All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I've learned so much today. I never knew how all of that happened and the different varieties and all that. So I do appreciate that. I do like to end every segment though with 3 quick fire round questions. So just answer them as best.
No prep. Here we go.
Yeah, no prep.
Foot and mouth time, Mike.
All right. What's your favorite season?
Summer now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love summer. And what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Moose Tracks.
Oh, no way. Me too. Or a butter pecan. I'm going to go that way too. So, but no, again.
You had me and then you lost me.
I really, really appreciate it. This has been so much fun. And cherry season, right?
No, apple biscuit butterball season.
Okay, that too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us again at your favorite table, and we will see you again soon.